Alrighty, so happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Nicky Stees here, and as promised, we're going to talk about the 76ers early season struggles and some of the woes going on here early. So going into this season, I had the 76ers as playoff contenders, but I figured they'd pull a Doc Rivers style choke job come playoff time, and so here we are, and I'm going to sit here and discuss the 76ers for a little bit and what's going on here early this season. And yeah, so I also said I was going to invite some people to join in. If they want to join in, they can join in. We can have a two-way, three-way discussion, four-way discussion, however many people decide to join in. So I'll put the link to the StreamYard in the chat right here so you guys can join. So I'm going to do that right now. So there is so I got the link to the StreamYard right there. So I left the comment, so I'm waiting for it to appear up so I can share it. No, it just doesn't want to seem to. So here it is right here. So there's the link to the StreamYard for anyone who wants to join in. We can turn this into a discussion right there. So yeah, let's get this thing rolling, shall we? So the 76ers, it's been a lot of early season struggles right here for this team right here. We're at 12-12 right now. And I expected this team going into the season to at least make a push possibly for the playoffs and make a run possibly the playoffs before pulling a Doc Rivers style choke job. But so far, it's not happening that way. It's been a tough start to the season for the 76ers. Some of the main problems is the bench isn't performing that well. We're dealing with some injuries right there. You know, Doc Rivers as head coach clearly isn't the right guy to lead this team. I mean, just a lot of things going on right now that are just, yeah, it's obviously contributing to the struggles right here. I mean, I think this is really years of bad decision-making at the top finally coming back to bite this team right here. Because we'll go through this a little bit. Let's go back a few years, shall we? Let's go back to 2017, 2018, when the 76ers, going into that season, they hadn't done anything in the process yet. You had Sam Hinkie was out. Brian Colangelo was in. We started to turn the corner a little bit. We had some good youth right there. We had Embiid was there. Simmons looked like he was going to be a star going forward. We had Markelle Fultz trade, which we trade up to get him in 2017 draft. At the time, it was considered a slam dunk. A lot of people thought, hey, this is going to be a good move right here. This Markelle Fultz trade can really help the Sixers compete going forward. But obviously, it didn't happen. Markelle Fultz didn't play up to the hype right there. And so that was a case of rotten luck right there. It was really his shoulder injury. He got the Cam Newton syndrome before he became a star, whereas Cam Newton in the NFL, he was a star, then his shoulder injury started to catch up to him, hurt his performance, and Markelle Fultz, his shoulder injuries got to him, and he never lived up to the hype. So that was just a case of rotten luck right there, because Markelle Fultz, if we kept him, we could have possibly been a contender with homegrown talent, possibly. We could have had J.J. Redick, Sarge, Covington, Embiid. You know, Markelle Fultz, he lived up as advertised, but obviously that didn't happen. So just bad luck hit us right there. That was the first thing right there. The Brian Colangelo burner account scandal, which forced him to resign, where he was just a complete dumbass. And he went, oh boy, what did he do? Let's see. So he went through it. He had like 5 different Twitter accounts, right? And he was going through some of these Twitter accounts, sharing gossip stuff from the behind the scenes. He was critiquing some of his own players. He was talking smack about other executives. I mean, there were several things he was doing on those burner accounts right there that was hurting the team. That was not good for the organization. Not a good look right there to have one of your own executives out there, you know, sitting there talking all that smack about the team and being like, yeah, that's not a good look right there. You can't have an executive talking smack about players. You gotta get rid of that. So fortunately, we did get rid of him. Then we brought in Elton Brand, and Elton Brand's vision was just throw caution in the wind and just try to win a championship right now. That didn't pan out right there. We got the Tobias Harris trade, so what did we do? So the Tobias Harris trade we pulled off in February 2019 didn't really help us because we got, here, I wrote it down right here. So we lost the 2020 first, lost the 2021 first from Miami, 2021 and 23 second round picks from the Pistons. So that's some of the pieces we lost right there. And we had to give up a few players to that Tobias trade. And Tobias Harris, who throughout a majority of his run has been a liability. A majority of the time, he's been a liability for the 76ers team since we got him in February 2019. And we did pull off the Jimmy Butler trade early in that season, which helped us make that run there. And we put up a damn good run in that, even that series against the Raptors. It's a shame we lost on that Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater, but you know what? It was a good run, and it was our best chance. But going into that 2019 offseason, what do we need to do? First thing, we needed to get back Jimmy Butler. We didn't do it. There was a sign and trade deal with the Miami Heat. We got Josh Richardson, which was a downgrade. That didn't help us out right there. So that was a flop right there. And then, of course, Elton Brand decided to intelligently try to bring in Al Horford to a 4-year deal. When Al Horford and Embiid had gotten into it for butt-head several times. Obviously, that didn't pan out as well. Horford and Embiid couldn't be on the same team. We got swept by the Celtics in the bubble. Then Elton Brand was let go. And not to mention, Elton Brand clearly was not qualified to be a GM. He had one season, as the GM for the Delaware Blue Coats, who finished last in the G League during his 1 year there. And now all of a sudden the 76ers organization decided he was qualified to be a GM. But because the Sixers were still making the playoffs at the time, the perspective was, oh, it's all right. And the reason I'm going through all this stuff is to kind of give you an idea of some of the bad decisions the Sixers made throughout the years that come back to bite them. So we got rid of Elton Brand. Clearly not qualified to be a GM. Right, good move, right? Then we bring in Daryl Morey, who better than Elton Brand, but Daryl Morey, if you look closer at it, he really was not that good with the Rockets, really. I mean, there was some underachieving there with the Rockets, and some of his decisions on trying to build up a championship team with the Rockets clearly didn't work out. So we bring him in. Now, okay, better than Hinkie for sure. Better than Colangelo with his stupid burner account. And better than Elton Brand. So it is an upgrade. Daryl Morey has been an upgrade from those three guys right there. I'll give him that. But then after we fire Brett Brown, who do we bring in? Doc Rivers, one of the biggest chokers. One of the biggest underachieving head coaches in 21st century NBA. He had that one ring. He was carried by high-end talent with the Boston Celtics. But what has he done since then? Exactly. It's been a cluster since then. It really has. And then, okay, so we bring him in. But then we had the old Ben Simmons situation. We finally had to trade him. But in the process, we got James Harden. Okay, Harden's been good for us when he's on the court. But here's the problem. We also had to get rid of Seth Curry, who was one of our best bench pieces. And we got rid of Andre Drummond. So we lost a key bench piece in that trade as well. So, and now we see it coming back to bite us this year. I feel like this year so far is a combination of all those things that were going on behind the scenes. Some of the bad GM hire, bad management hires, GM, president of basketball operations, whatever the case may be. Especially with Hinkie, Carlton, whatever. How did I forget his name? I just said it several times. And then, of course, Elton Brand. So there were some bad decisions made during those years that are coming back to bite us. Not being able to bring back Jimmy Butler still haunted us this day. We never got back to getting back to the level we could have been with Jimmy Butler. where we had a chance to compete for a championship. So we lost out on that. We never got back to that. Throughout the year, we lost several key pieces of the years. The Al Horford trade, we lost J.J. Redick in that, who was a key piece to our shooting. We lost Seth Curry in the James Harden, Ben Simmons trade. So obviously Ben Simmons didn't live up to the hype. Markelle Fultz, we traded up to get him, but he wasn't as good as advertised. It's all these things, a combination of rotten luck and bad decisions throughout the years, is put the Sixers where we're at right now, starting 12-12. So now we're officially segue into talking about this season. And as for some of you people coming in, there's the link right there to the StreamYard. If you guys want to join in, make this a 2-way, 3-way discussion, 4-way discussion, whatever the case may be, you're welcome to join in. We can make this a call-in, if you will, through StreamYard. So that's why I put the link right there if you guys want to join. So let's get into it. So the Sixers are 12-12. Recently, we've been struggling. We dropped 3 straight. And we had that loss to the Rockets Monday. I dropped a short about that. I ranted about how we got out-rebounded the hell by the Rockets. Embiid, he was putting up a good performance offensively, but he fouled out late in the first OT. And, I mean, we lost to the Houston Rockets. That's not a good loss right there, especially for a team that was one game above 500 going into that game. Yes, it's early and it's the NBA season, granted. But still, a loss to the Houston Rockets doesn't look good and doesn't provide much optimism now, does it? So we had that right there. Of course, we got embarrassed last Wednesday by the Cavaliers. I was on there, me and MK, Mitch Kofsky, head of the Hardcore Sports Network. We did that right there as co-host. That was an embarrassing game right there. I mean, the second half of that stream was just boring as hell, killing time. I mean, saw how bad that game was right there. And Friday, we got beat by the Grizzlies. And one of the biggest problems throughout the season is the bench hasn't been playing that good. Okay, even these recent games, what have we gotten from the bench that's really helped us? Let's see. Look at throughout the season, majority of the time, we don't even get one player on the bench up to 10 points. Now, granted, these are bench players. So the bench players, you're not expecting your bench players to all put up like 20, 15 points. No. I'm not expecting that. But it would be nice if we could get if we were at least getting, one player on the bench averaging between 10 to 15 a game and 1 or 2 others averaging 8 to 9 a game. That would actually be better if we had a bench like that. One player averaging double digits, a few others averaging high single digits from the bench side of it. Then our bench would be better off. We'd probably have a better chance in some of these games. Because obviously the bench, I'm not expecting the same numbers that I expect from the starters. No. And the starters, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, our bench guys really aren't doing that great. D'Anthony Melton, he's been kind of thus far. I was high on the move to trade. The trade we pulled for it, we traded Danny Green and our pick for him. I liked that move at the time on draft night. But so far, D'Anthony Melton, he's been okay at times thus far. You've had Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris, he's a hot and cold player so far this season. He'll have some good games. He'll go out there and score good offensively sometimes, and he'll be a contributing factor. I've even done a few shorts after. Remember that stretch we had Embiid, Harden, Maxey out? Remember Tobias was playing good offensively? He was helping us out. Remember against the Nets, I made a short praising him for his performance there. And even Monday night, he had a pretty good performance. He was good offensively. He helped keep us in the game against the Rockets. But Tobias Harris, he's a very hot and cold player. He'll have some good games here. He'll help us out. But then Tobias Harris will have moments, which leads to Mitch Kofsky, head of the Hardcore Sports Network, calling him Tobias Harris. So he's one of those up and down players. You get some good out of him, but you also get some bad out of him. It's just like, it's real hard to get behind Tobias Harris right now because I want him to do good. I want him to help this team, but at the same time, he disappoints. He's sometimes in a loss for words about him. I just wish he would play as well as he's played against the Nets Thanksgiving week, as well as he played against the Rockets Monday. I wish we'd see that from Tobias on a regular basis because we're getting that from him on a regular basis. If he had been doing that since he joined the Sixers from start, we'd be in a much better position as a team. We would be. But obviously, that's not the case. So, Tobias, it's like, I'm happy he's been doing good sometimes, but he's not always on point. And PJ Tucker, I didn't like the move when it first happened. I even had some people challenging my stance on it. But here we are so far this season. Honestly, what have you seen from PJ Tucker to convince yourself that this was a good move? What have you seen from him thus far? Most of the time, he's non-existent from a scoring standpoint. And the fact we signed him to, I didn't like the idea that we signed a 37-year-old to a 3-year contract in the first place. I didn't like that. I thought it was a bad idea because, and so far this year, he's not doing much offensively. He plays okay defensively at times, but it's not contributing to scoring. So what good is it really doing? And for the people that want to try to use his defensive play as a reason to justify him being here, okay, but wasn't Ben Simmons a good defensive player? Wasn't that one of our reasons to justify him being on this team? And look how that ultimately worked out. Now, obviously, PJ Tucker's got a better mentality to the game than Ben Simmons. Of course he does. Of course. But what I'm saying is, you use Ben Simmons as an example of, yeah, the defense is nice, but if you can't score, how much does it help? And PJ Tucker this year, for us, he's a liability offensively. He is. And he's 37, so we still got 2 more years out of him after this year. And it's not like he's getting any younger, so I just clearly starting to see early signs that this was a mistake, especially the 3-year contract. That's why I really think we should have got a 1-year deal with him, because PJ, we get through the season, PJ Tucker doesn't do anything at all for us, except maybe a couple good games out of 82. We could have just moved on from him after that. But we're stuck with him for a few more years unless we pull off a trade and get something in return. But we've been down this road several times before, trading away players who aren't contributing. Al Horford, we traded him away because him and Embiid weren't on the same page. He wasn't playing good with us. He didn't mesh with the team. So we had to trade to get out of that deal right there. We had to trade to get out of the Ben Simmons deal. Are we just going to keep doing this over and over again? Signing guys only for them to not pan out, then to trade them away? This is an example of what I was talking about in the first couple minutes there about how some of the moves of the past are coming back to haunt the Sixers. And I know that I got some more views now than I started. For those of you just coming in, at first, I was talking a little bit. I was giving an overview about how some of the past decisions going back to the Colangelo burner account era, we're starting to come back to bite them. How the Al Horford move let JJ Redick go, and how we had rotten luck with Markelle Fultz, all that. I'm just talking about how all that's now coming back to haunt us. And that's another example right there of how we sign these guys only to have to trade them because they're not panning out. Is this just going to be something the Sixers keep doing? Is PJ Tucker ultimately going to be another guy we just trade away because he's not panning out when we gave him a grossly overpaid deal and we gave him too much for a too long period of time? I mean, if we would have just brought in PJ for one season and he continues playing the way he's playing, at the end of the year, we could have just moved on from him. No harm in the end. But now we're talking about running the risk of trading him when we've already done that several times in recent years, traded away players that aren't doing that good. It's just, so PJ Tucker, it's not panning out right there. And obviously the head coach, Doc Rivers, we know it's a popular take to talk smack about Doc Rivers and how he's not a qualified coach. And you know what? It is true. It is true. And for those of you wondering, right there, that's the link to the StreamYard. If anyone wants to join in, you're more than welcome to join in and chat with me about this. But clearly we're seeing it. We talked about it going into the season. Doc Rivers was not the guy to lead this team. He wasn't going to maximize this team's potential. And now we're seeing it this year. And on Monday night against the Rockets, you had several people in the fan base wondering, do these players even want to play for Doc Rivers? Are they even trying here? Because that's what it came across as right there. You got to wonder if deep down inside, some of these players don't want Doc Rivers here. They want to get him fired. So you got to want it just. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening. However, you wonder, looking at the way they're playing, is that what's occurring? Is it? Because clearly this team's not playing up to its potential. They're clearly not. I mean, like I said, the bench has been awful. And the only time we've ever really adjusted with Doc Rivers is when our starters are out. We know Embiid, no Harden, no Maxey. We managed to win some games against some bad teams. We managed to adjust a little bit. We managed to prepare a little better because Doc Rivers didn't have to just rely on stars to carry them. And notice something right here. When our stars are healthy, they're the ones that carry this team. Like, you look at some of the games we've won throughout the season, like Halloween night against the Wizards. James Harden went off on that game. Remember the game against the Utah Jazz a month ago? Embiid had 59 career high. Remember that? Those are examples of how when we do win with our stars, they pretty much carry the workload offensively. And that's what helps us win. Even some of the games we lost when we have our stars, like Monday night against the Rockets, our stars stepped up, and they're the ones that helped give us a chance in that game. I mean, if we came in with the same preparation, no Harden, no Embiid, we would have shat the bed figuratively, and it would have been an even more embarrassing loss. Okay, so the stars are mainly the ones carrying the team, and we only prepare properly for games when needed to, when we realize, oh snap, we don't have the high-end talent to carry us and come save the day in the fourth quarter. So we're going to have to prepare for these games. We're going to have to work with the guys we have. And that's another thing, lack of preparation. We clearly see it by the way they're playing, not preparing right. And obviously, we're not there in practice. We don't see what's going on in practice. We don't go see what's going on in the locker room before the game. So we don't actually know what's really going on. However, the results in the game are giving us clues that we're not preparing for these games properly. Our team is not prepared, and they're not doing a good job game planning. So the end results are giving hints that we're not doing that part right there. So yeah, clearly lack of preparation is a thing. We clearly need to do a better job preparing for these games right here, all right? And something else I noticed, when we play bad teams, we seem to have no problem beating up on the bad teams. Like, we beat up on the Nets. We beat up on the Orlando Magic. Notice that. But it usually seems like majority of the time we play the good teams, we're struggling. You notice that. Cavs, Grizzlies, Celtics, Bucks, we can't seem to beat any of these teams at all. And there was a press conference a few weeks ago. Doc Rivers basically admitted that when he had no Embiid, Harden, and Maxey, he had to adjust the game planning. So it's only when Doc Rivers doesn't have high-end talent to carry him that he actually bothers to put effort into a proper game planning. I'll even go back a few years. Remember 2018, 2019 when Doc Rivers was with the Clippers, when he didn't have that much to work with on the roster? So, and then, they took a team that really had nothing going for it and managed to make it to the first round. They got the 8th seed, and they took the Warriors to Game 7. Remember that? They put up a good fight. Let's take a look at. So right now I'm pulling up that roster right there. We're going to go through that roster right there that they had 2018, 2019. And look, so here's the roster the Clippers had there. Doc Rivers in that year, he didn't have Blake Griffin. He didn't have CP3 to help carry him. He didn't have it. So here's what he had to work with. He had Patrick Beverley, Avery Bradley, Wilson Chandler, Angel Delgado, Danilo Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Marcin Gortat, JaMychal Green, Montrezl Harrell, who is with the Sixers currently, Tobias Harris before we pull off the trade during the season, shortly before the trade deadline, Boban Marjanoff, Luke Mabu Amonte. You had Mike Scott, who he acquired in that trade, Lou Williams, one of the all-time great sixth men. And you're starting to get the point, right? I think you guys get the point. The point being is Doc Rivers didn't have much to work with, but That's when he actually stepped up, actually tried to bother to put effort into game planning, and he got that Clippers team further than they had any business being. He got them to the playoffs, and he got them to put up a fight in a competitive series against the Warriors. Obviously, they lost. They were going against a super team, but they actually exceeded expectations. And I noticed it felt like in those games earlier this year with the 76ers, without our stars, it felt like our bench guys and our other players were actually stepping up. It felt like they're actually game planning properly. It felt like Doc Rivers actually was putting forth more effort to properly coach the team. Something similar to that team right there. That team with the Clippers, he didn't have talent to help him out, so he had to actually put more effort into his job. During those couple weeks, he didn't have our starters there. He had to put more effort into it. So it's only when Doc Rivers doesn't have talent to carry him, he actually puts effort. And that's the problem with him as our coach. He just relies on high-end talent to bail him out. And really this year, we're starting to see it. It's really what it is. I mean, you can go back to his first year with the Celtics. Really, he pretty much had Paul Pierce carrying the team. He managed to get that team to the playoffs right there and managed to make something of it. He had Paul Pierce carrying the load, but outside of that, he actually had to step up a little bit. And plus, he was coming off getting fired with the Orlando Magic, so that 04-05 Celtics team, his first year there. He had to actually put some effort into it. But Doc Rivers, for the most part, he puts effort into being a coach when he needs to, but when he's got the high-end talent to carry him, he's just lazy. And Doc, here's another thing, that excellent point, because run it back Philly, DJ Eastwood, he did a talk with Greg Melly. I saw bits of it, and they brought up something here that I'm going to repeat. So Doc Rivers, he doesn't cater much to playing the young guys. He likes to play veterans. We know Doc Rivers prefers playing veterans over younger guys. Yet here we are now where the NBA is in a situation where the league as a whole is getting younger. You're getting a lot more players doing 1 year in college, kind of giving that experimental 1 year go before they come to the NBA. So we're in a situation where a lot of players in today's NBA are younger, and Doc Rivers is still trying to cater toward the veterans. He's not adjusting to the times right now because, okay, you look at a lot of these rosters, a lot of these guys like Zion of the world, the Ja Morants of the world, Luka Doncic of the world. Okay, some of these players are getting younger. LaMelo Balls, okay? These are some of the guys that are becoming names in recent years that are on average younger than most star players are in past eras of the NBA. So, but Doc Rivers doesn't make that adjustment to try to get younger on the roster. He likes to go with the veterans. And that's why the front office pulls off all these moves during the offseason, going to get PJ Tucker, the trade for DeAnthony Melton, who's actually done something elsewhere. It's all an attempt to appease the Doc Rivers, his coaching preferences. But if you look at the rest of the league's going in that younger direction. I think it's time the 76ers do the same. It's an example of them just being out of touch with the times right now. So right now, what I'm seeing with the 76ers is they're a coach who's a drastic overachiever or underachiever, excuse me. I apologize. Yeah, Doc Rivers a damn sure ain't no overachiever. He's an underachiever to the highest degree. You had a team that's refused to adjust to the times. Got a team that their bench sucks. Most of the time, they don't play that well. You rarely get one bench guy 10 points or higher. You're relying too much on the stars to carry the team, and this leads to those guys being burnt out. And this is only early December. What's going to happen later in the season when you have to rely on Harden, Embiid, Maxey to carry you most of the way? Oh, wait. You know what's already happened with these guys? They're already getting hurt early in the season, having to carry the workload. Imagine how bad it's going to be later this season when these guys still have to carry the workload, huh? What's it going to look like then when that creates more wear and tear on their bodies, huh? Guys that are already getting hurt early, being overworked early in the season. What's going to happen later in the year, huh? Exactly. It's going to be even worse for us. And that's why it's just not the way this team's currently constructed. It's not working out. All these years of letting shooters and key bench pieces walk, like JJ, Seth Curry, not being able to re-sign Jimmy Butler, it's all coming back to bite them now. All they have is high-end talent to give them a chance. Other than that, this team is in trouble, all right? I really think at this point the Sixers would be better off in the long term hitting the reboot button. Now, is there still a chance this team could make the playoffs? Of course. Maybe they could win a play-in game or two and sneak in the playoffs. But honestly, the way we're looking thus far, don't be surprised if we at farthest make it to the first round farthest. Because it's just not looking good so far for the Sixers. I mean, it's looking like it's going to be a long season right now, full of struggles, full of constantly getting mad at the bench, constantly calling for Doc Rivers' head. Just feels like it's going to be a long season right here where I don't think much is going to come out of this, man. And really, that's all I got to say right now is so far, it's looking like it's going to be a long season. I think if the Sixers in the long term be better off just starting over. That's all I really got to say right there. So Sixers do have a couple days off, obviously. They had yesterday off. They have today and tomorrow off. They come back Friday against the Lakers. I mean, I don't even know. I have my doubts that they're going to beat the Lakers right now. But we'll see what happens then. We'll be back to talk about that more later. So that's really all I got to say. To everyone that tunes in, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this stream right there because I enjoyed producing this right there. And if you guys haven't done so already, please do me a favor. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Right, matter of fact, I'll put the link in the chat right there so you can sub up my channel if you haven't done so yet. So give me 1 second right here. So I'm going to do that. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to put that in the chat. So I'll make sure. So guys, thank you for tuning in. I want to put the link to my channel. You can subscribe already. For whatever reason, though, I commented on the hardcore. What's going on here? Man. So I'm trying to I commented it. Hold on a second. You know what? I'm going to do it this way instead. Sorry about that. But okay, here's the link to my channel right there. So if you guys haven't checked out my channel, you can do so on YouTube. There's the link to go sub me up. So yeah, so everyone thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be back later tonight on Pick'ems, where we do our Week 14 NFL picks exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network. So I'll be one of the guests on that right there. So you can check that out 9 p.m. tonight on the Hardcore Sports Network. So yeah, that's all I really got to say. It's Nicky Stees signing off. Until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day.